This video is sponsored by Surfshark VPN.
Hey you, my name is TomSka Ridgewell, and memes have ruined my life. Or at the very least, my relationship with cinema. Well over a year ago now, I decided I'd make a silly little video all about movies based on internet memes. I mean, how long could that take? How many could there even be? Like 5? 10? 15? 20? 30? 40? What have I gotten myself into?
It's TomSka and Friends, TomSka and Friends, TomSka and Friends, TomSka and Friends.
Ah, shit. Here we go again. Another batch of movies that exist solely because someone saw something on the internet and, riddled with hubris, said, yeah, I'll make a film out of that. A film that I am now obliged to watch, review, and rank. And you get the misfortune of learning about. Lucky us. If this is your first time joining me on this nightmarish journey, or you just need a refresher, so far I have covered Afro Ninja Destiny, The Charlie Challenge, Dear David, Dog Poop Girl, Badass, Fred the Movie, Grumpy Cat's Worst Christmas Ever, How the Hamsters Saved Winter, The Yummy Gummy Search for Santa, I Want to Be Ninja, Meme Lover, Karen, Amityville Karen, A Christmas Karen, Sneezing Baby Panda, Next Gen, Safety Not Guaranteed, Always Watching, Slender Man, Dream Man, This Man, Dream Scenario, Train Man, Tusk, When I Get Home My Wife Always Pretends to Be Dead, Zola, and Jadun. And yes, I am broken inside. So, what exactly is a meme? I mean, I should know. I've been responsible for a few. Without me, you wouldn't have this.
I like trains.
Or this.
Oh boy, what flavor?
Pie. Or perhaps most importantly, this.
I just simultaneously whipped and nay-nayed!
The simplest definition of an internet meme is something people share online, typically with humorous intent. Anything can be a meme, an image, a video, a sound, a character, a phrase, a piece of text, or perhaps even just an idea that can be repeated, reworked, and recontextualized. Nothing in and of itself is a meme, but it's what people do with it, how they share it, that makes it become a meme. Lastly, as a general rule, I'm not covering YouTuber movies, documentaries about memes, viral news stories, or shorts that got adapted into movies, or movies that once again simply resulted in a lot of memes. But today we are going to broaden both our horizons and our definition of a meme with copypastas, creepypastas, more foreign language films, and steamed hams?
Yes.
Let's do this.
In the back room.
In 2003, as a furniture shop in Oshkosh, Wisconsin was being renovated into a hobby town, someone snapped a photograph of an empty room at the back of the building. A back room, if you will. The room was unastounding, perhaps unnervingly so though, as it carried with it an air of disconcerting familiarity. If you'd ever been in an empty, abandoned, or otherwise unoccupied space before, it may have stirred within you the same sensation as looking at this image. And then they converted it into a remote control race car track. Oh, fuck yeah! Now it's only unnerving if you're lame. Or don't have autism. But on May 12th of 2019, a user on 4chan posted that photo of the back room as an example of images that just feel off. And pretty soon, someone replied to that thread, adding in a little bit of lore.
If you're not careful and you no-clip out of reality in the wrong areas, you'll end up in the backrooms. God save you if you hear something wandering around nearby, because it sure as hell has heard you.
And thus, the backrooms were born, becoming the go-to example of liminal spaces, as more and more lore got added on top, including extra floors and hidden creatures, turning it into a deadly labyrinth. Honestly, the origin of the backrooms is very similar to Slender Man, in how it just started as people mucking around in the thread, and then they added more and more lore until it just became a whole new thing. Then, in November of 2021, a 16-year-old Kane Parsons wanted to create a scene in this environment, and so, using Blender, made this test footage, and then 2 months later would release the first episode of his series, The Backrooms. Inspired by found footage horror movies much like Marble Hornets before it and that initial 4chan thread, a cameraman no-clips through the floor and winds up in the backrooms. He gets chased by a squiggly monster man and they run around for a bit. I'm not selling it very well, but the response was phenomenal, inspiring 22 official episodes, a bunch of unofficial contributions, shit like this.
Oh, maybe we can escape through here.
And a feature-length movie with Kane Parsons at the helm. Now, the movie's not officially out yet, but I managed to pull a few strings, call in a few favors, and get an early copy just for this What the Fuck is Amityville Backrooms.
What is going on?
In 2023, Evan Jacobs, director of such classics as Death Toilet 4, Brown Snakes on a Plane, hosted a humble Indiegogo campaign for $1,000 to fund his new project, Amityville Backrooms. Yes, we are back in the Amityverse, and yes, that is what they call it. Now, full disclosure, before going into this movie, I preemptively gave it a score of 1. In fact, I was so sure this was going to be the new worst film I had ever seen that I wrote this entire paragraph before watching it. But I did decide that should I be proven wrong, I would simply delete this from the script. Anyway, here's 6 uninterrupted seconds from the movie that we didn't edit in any way.
Where is this door?
Fuck me. Need I say any more? No, but I refuse to suffer alone. Picking up where Amityville Karen left off, we are once again treated to Indiegogo backers playing news reporters yapping about disappearances in Amityville. This one is in the woods for some reason, and then we get 2 minutes of shots of our titular backrooms. Now, I'm not going to explain to you exactly what makes something a liminal space, but it's not this. This is just some dude's house. These are not backrooms, these are just rooms. The only thing scary in this house is the decor, except for this, which is, that's kind of fucking awesome. I want that in my house. So, it's time for the movie to actually begin. And where most movies will write a script, have actors perform that script, and then choose the best takes of that performance to create a story, this movie does absolutely none of those things. Seemingly every single line was improvised, and then every single take of that improvisation was just dragged and dropped into the timeline for us to enjoy in full. Ah, lucky us.
I know I'm not getting out of here. I know I'm never getting out of here. I know I'm never getting out of here. I know that I'm never getting out of here.
We meet our protagonist Keith, a sleazy real estate agent looking to offload an overpriced house on an unwitting buyer for so many minutes. And then the movie just pauses to say this.
What would you do to make a sale? What would you do for money? Just know, you're doing it.
What? What the fuck does that mean? What the fuck does that mean? Anyway, Keith gets a phone call from a fart, I think.
Hello?
Pisses for 30 entire seconds, and then gets miraculously teleported into the very house he was trying to sell, aka the Backrooms.
Where's the door?
It's right behind you.
Where's the door?
It's right fucking behind you.
Where's the door?
My brother in Christ, you are walking away from the door.
Does he know about the D-O-R-E? The door.
Like, I get the idea of working with the space you have, but maybe just reposition the door out of frame if the scene is about the guy trying to find the fucking door. Remember our zombie friend from earlier? He still shows up sometimes. Soldier as well. Fuck it, why not? Just throw some shit in there. Octopus time. Yeah. Keith goes outside, comes back inside, says,
I'm getting outside.
Despite having just been outside.
Outside.
Goes outside again, comes back inside again, and generally ambles around the house asking how to get out of the house.
I'm gonna get out.
And this is pretty much the entire movie.
I gotta get out of here. I'm getting out of here. Would you just let me get out of here?
At one point, he goes into the garage and finds someone wearing a blue hoodie, but when they turn around, it's him. And this doesn't come up again. They just thought that'd be fun to film, I guess. Anyway, 20 minutes before the end of the movie, Keith randomly disappears never to be seen again, and then his co-worker also gets teleported into the back rooms, similarly wanders around, asking how to get out, and then we cut to black with the sound of screaming.
Keith, are you in here?
Real first-year student film type shit. Truly irredeemably awful. 1 out of 10 movie, 2 out of 10 incorporation, the F-est of F-tiers. Now, Evan Jacobs has, in fact, made multiple movies based on memes, and hopefully you can understand why I will simply not be watching any more of them. I will not be watching Incel, I will not be watching Mansplained, and when it eventually comes out, I will not be watching Bigotfoot. Bigotfoot is not a meme movie, but I gotta give that name credit, Bigotfoot is very funny.
Hello, my name is Evan Jacobs, and I've been making films since 1995.
Maybe act like it then. I'm sorry, that's mean. You're just having fun. It's a bad movie, though.
And now, a word from our sponsor.
Face it, dude, we're lost. These rooms just go on and on and on.
Yeah, what are they? My ex-wife?
This is why she left me. I finally got a Wi-Fi signal.
Oh, thank God! Quick, call for help!
I'm on it. Let me just... What are you doing? Just turning on Surfshark VPN.
Why?
To protect my data from hackers and malware.
Why would you care about that right now?
Never hurts to be careful, dude. I don't know this network. Us getting out of here is slightly more important than your cybersecurity. Easy for you to say. I take a lot of nudes on this thing.
Oh, fine, just hurry up.
Oh, okay, it's connected.
Great, now, see if you can contact the...
Yeah, totally. Just gotta change my virtual location first.
Why?
So people can't track my location?
That is exactly what we want them to do.
Where do you think I should pick? Canada? France?
It doesn't matter.
All right, fine. We'll do the Netherlands.
Well, maybe not the Netherlands.
Black Pete. Yeah, Spain it is. I do love conquitos.
Oh shit! What? I forgot to turn on the inbuilt antivirus. Not the time. I look at a lot of pornography, okay? I can't take any chances. We are going to die!
Hey, I didn't click the link in the description, which is surfshark.com/TomSka Friends, and use code TomSka Friends for an extra 4 months on my Surfshark subscription for nothing. I am taking full advantage of this service. Fine, I'll check our location. Wait a minute. This isn't the Backrooms. This is Revolution Raceway! Whoa!
Get your fucking butt there to Revolution Raceway. We got remote control cars and shit. Hell yeah!
What was the first Gen Alpha meme? Some say it's Skibbity Toilet, Italian Brain Rot, 6-7, but I'd argue that for the generation born after 2010, the first meme that turned their iPad-addicted heads was slime. And yes, I'm counting slime as a meme under the internet trend subcategory, much like planking or eating Tide Pods. Again, it's my video, and I can do what I want. So there. Now, slime has been a childhood staple since Nickelodeon in the 80s and 90s, but in 2014, young girls in Thailand started making their own slime and posting videos about it to Instagram. By 2016, Thai slime, don't worry, the name didn't stick, had become a huge trend, even spawning dedicated slime channels. Look at this Dutch child making slime. I don't know what she's talking about. It's probably to do with Black Pete. Sorry, Netherlands, I'm not letting it go. What are you doing? Slime is a 2 out of 10 meme for me. I'm glad kids had fun with it, but God, that can't have been good for the environment. I mean, where does all that slime even go? I'm eating it as fast as I can, but there's just so much left. Now, because slime videos are mind-numbingly captivating and completely family-friendly, they exploded in popularity with literal children. And because slime is incredibly easy to make, children loved making and presumably eating slime. So naturally, when Nickelodeon saw this resurgence of slime, they said, hey, that's our thing. So we're going to make our own slime movie, and we're bringing that Dutch child with us too. And so in 2020, De Grote Slime Film, aka The Big Slime Movie, oozed its way into cinemas. The movie starts on International Slime Day, which is a thing apparently, and our main character Indy wakes up to the breaking news that there is a competition to create the most original slime recipe, and God, I wish I lived in a world where there was so little going on that that would be considered breaking news. Indy's lizard-obsessed dad skips town for a few weeks to do lizard work and leaves her in the care of her 16-year-old brother Dan. They immediately get into a fight over slime, of course, and end up accidentally breaking their neighbor's vase, forcing Dan to get a job to pay for it. Dan gets a job at Duff Toys, owned by Dominicus Duff, who is mad at slime because its popularity is detracting from the sales of his toys, and so Dan is promptly put to work on a smear campaign against slime, which honestly does have some grounding because slime is full of borax and boron, which is toxic, especially to fertility. Oh no! My cum! Slime is immediately banned. Children are forced en masse to hand in their slime to Mr. Duff to be destroyed, and slime YouTubers go to actual jail. God, a world where YouTubers get sent to jail. Truly just and good. Indy starts an internet campaign with a rousing speech to rally together all the slime lovers of the world to fight this grave injustice, and absolutely nothing happens, so she just breaks into the toy factory instead. Direct action. Good job, Indy. Meanwhile, news gets out that Indy is still in possession of a secret stash of slime, so the actual police go hunting for her. Indy's dad rushes home with the help of Dutch J. Foreman, and Dan, who is 16 years old, very nearly kisses a fully grown adult woman, which is... okay. Cool. Naturally, to punish him for being groomed, Dominicus Duff imprisons Dan in a cage with a big old door right behind him that everyone just pretends isn't there. What is this? Amityville Backrooms? Ha 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 ha. Callback.
Where's the door?
Now, despite this being the big slime movie, slime really doesn't play that much of a role in it. You know, like, slime could have been used to solve any of the problems in this situation. Like, oh, he's got a key he's got to reach. Maybe we'll use some slime to get it, or we'll bounce some slime around and unlock the door. No, just the groomer's going to give him the key. All right. Love wins. Deep inside the factory, Indy discovers that Dominicus has not, in fact, destroyed the slime, but has been swimming in it because he loves slime. But no, Dominicus! Your jizz! It's killing your jizz! Indy decides to blow this whole thing wide open, and so records Dominicus on her pocket mirror with secret camera. Alright, I guess you gotta get some product placement in there to fund this movie. VTech cameras. Great for capturing someone's barely disguised fetish. Dad arrives just in time to do absolutely nothing as Indy leaks the video during a live press event, clearing Slime's good name and forcing all the workers of Duff Toys into unemployment. The stolen slime is redirected through the pipes, everyone gets sprayed with sterilizing poison, and instead of anyone getting arrested, they all just have a dance party. The end. Thank God. While it obviously wasn't for me, I'm sure some Dutch kids got a kick out of this movie, so I'll give it a harmless 4 out of 10. As for incorporation, we do see slime-fluencers and kids making slime, but they don't really do anything interesting with the slime, so 5 out of 10. C tier. And no, I will not be watching the sequel. Or the sequel. Or the sequel. Or the musical? Okay. In 1960, cartoonist and Christian convert Jack Chick would self-publish the first in a long, long line of fundamentalist Christian comics that would become known as Chick Tracts. The comics were evangelical in nature, warning people of the dangers of witchcraft, homosexuality, and Family Guy.
Peter, what are you doing? Crack? What the f-
It was basically just like Garfield, except instead of lasagna, it was hell, and instead of I Hate Mondays, it was also hell. If you've ever been handed a teeny little comic by an evangelist on the street, which actually happened to me just last year, it was most likely a Chick Tract. Now, the satanic panic surrounding Dungeons & Dragons wasn't just a strange thing from Stranger Things.
A club! A harmless club! That's what they want you to think!
Which is why, in 1984, Jack Chick published Dark Dungeons, to warn the world about the dangers of tabletop role-playing games. Namely, that they were being used to groom children into joining satanic cults and teaching them how to use actual real magic. Yeah. Good stuff. I imported a physical copy of this from Utah just to hold it up for a couple seconds. Why do I do this? It costs like £30. The comic has its protagonist Debbie get so good at D&D that she's invited to join a witch's coven and learns to cast actual spells. Meanwhile, her best friend Marcy dies in the campaign and fucking kills herself over it in real life, forcing Debbie to reject D&D and cast its evil spirit out of her body before burning all of her paraphernalia, which I think we can all agree is incredibly financially irresponsible. Those books are expensive. Now, given that we're currently in 1984, you're probably wondering how this all ties into memes. Well, naturally, Chick Tracts have been subject to mockery and parody online. You've most likely seen a panel out of context in your travels, or you've seen someone spoofing his style. Perhaps you've seen the most people rejected his message panel, or even this panel replaced with the words of a drill tweet. It's good stuff. A 6 out of 10 meme. But netizens have been memeing on Chick Tracts since well before social media, such as this Mystery Science Theater parody page poking fun at Dark Dungeons from the year 2000. And it was on this very page that a young J.R. Rouse would be introduced to it. And 13 years later, armed only with Jack Chick's blessing and also $1,000 in lottery wins and also a further $25,000 in Kickstarter backing, J.R. Rouse would adapt Dark Dungeons into a short spoof movie. And yes, I'm counting it as a meme because J.R. Rouse discovered it as a meme and I emailed him to confirm this. Fuck you, I make the rules. The movie starts with a satanic cult discussing all of the evil progress they've made before introducing us to our protagonists, Debbie and Marcy, two pure-hearted Christian girls ready to save girls.
Little girls!
Two good, pure-hearted Christian girls ready to save some souls at university.
Just think of all the things we can do and all the souls we can save now that we're in college.
Now, like a lot of movies I've mentioned in this series, Dark Dungeons also suffers from a severe case of looking like a pornitis. Or maybe I just have a severe porn addiction.
I think your hands are perfect for spellcasting. So delicate and small. There's so much that you could do with them.
Yeah, no, it's definitely the movie's fault. Despite warnings from both their classmates and their professor, Debbie and Marcy quickly fall in with the wrong crowd.
Those are the RPGers.
And soon, an otherwise innocent party of underage drinking and fornication devolves into a depraved night of tabletop gaming. Here we learn that the cultish powers that be are using D&D to indoctrinate the youth into performing dark magic so that they can, bring about Cthulhu.
This fantasy game becomes a reality game.
I hate it when that happens. As in the original comic, Debbie and Marcy become hopelessly addicted to D&D until their duplicitous dominatrix DM kills off Marcy's character, forcing her to quit the game and hang up her cloak, while also wearing her cloak, because she hangs herself, is the joke I'm doing here.
No!
I think it's good. With her best friend now dead, Debbie finally sees the error of her demonic ways and turns back to Christ. Cthulhu is thwarted, the cultists explode, and we all learn a valuable lesson about the pervasive, addictive effects of Dungeons and Dragons. And perhaps, if my fiancée had seen this movie in time, she wouldn't have spent 1,500 hours playing Baldur's Gate 3. As a spoof, the movie got a good few chuckles out of me, but I wish they had upped their ratio of gags to balance out the drier, dialogue-heavy scenes. Still a 6 out of 10. Integration is pretty great. We get a healthy dose of word-for-word adaptations from the source material.
You mean you're going to teach me how to have the real power?
You have the personality for it now.
But weirdly, these are also the clunkiest and most awkward parts of the film.
But you've been trapped in a dungeon of bondage.
Still, 7 out of 10. B tier for Dark Dungeons.
Picture me and you under the tree. F-U-C-K-I-N-G.
One cool summer evening on the 25th of July 2012, 57-year-old Zdena Novotna took a stroll away from her campsite where she got lost, slipped, and somehow got herself stuck under the root of a tree. Too flummoxed to call for help, she would remain there, trapped for 11 entire hours before being rescued the next morning. The very next day, news network TV Nova irreverently reported on the story as 11 hours of horror and hopelessness, getting Zdena to recreate her experience, calling her the root prisoner, and telling us the story of how she wet herself for warmth, immediately creating a massive viral sensation within the Czech Republic. Also, during the report, this guy drops a sausage on the floor, and I really hate how significant that is going to become. Baba pod koźdnem, or the old woman under the root, is a harmless local meme, but it would still go on to inspire a song, a restaurant, both flavor text, and an entire mission in Kingdom Come Deliverance 2, a fighting stance apparently, and unfortunately for both you and I, a movie. Hot off the heels of making a documentary about a different Czech meme, filmmaker and meme enthusiast David Pashkovich decided he wanted to make a movie that was so bad it will be great. And honestly, he got halfway there. Kožený vězeň, or Root Prisoner, was really hard to get hold of. How hard, you ask? It came in a fucking box, okay? Ah, fuck, I just broke that. But it came on a little flash drive shaped like a tree root. That is adorable and also so ridiculous. Thank you so much to Jan, who helped me get a hold of this. You're the best. This series is too much work. The movie starts with a woman running through the forest being pursued by two foliage-covered Chechen YouTubers in wheelchairs, and then her top gets ripped off. And guess what? This scene bears no relevance to the rest of the film. It does not come up again. And honestly, it's neither uphill nor downhill from here. This is the baseline. A news reporter named David, just like in the source material, learns of Zdena and his team rushes to get the scoop, all apart from the sound guy who dies immediately when When they meet Zdena, they get her to recreate the events of the night before, which now makes it a recreation of a recreation. Whoa. Meanwhile, nearby, a completely separate camper drops a sausage, and it immediately comes to life, before murdering everyone else for eating sausages. Why? Because of TomSka? No, because that guy dropped the sausage in the news report. And brother, we are only 14 minutes into this movie, and the rest of the fucking thing is going to be about the sausage man. But before that, how could I forget to mention that a tree root anally penetrates a couple of campers doing a frankly terrible job of taking a shit in the woods. Seriously, my guy, that is all going in your underwear. And it's here that we also learn that the root that Zdena was trapped under has impregnated her. What is this, Evil Dead? And then we get some generative AI slop all about how a race of ancient tree people are waiting for the birth of a chosen one to help them reclaim the earth and blah blah blah, you lost me at the fucking AI. Anyway, the sausage man learns that his purpose in life is to save Zdena and the human race from the tree people, but he is immediately arrested for all of those murders he did, which is fair. For some reason, the general public immediately rally behind him and he's released from prison before rallying them all into a race war. And I'm not sure if it's the uncomfortably familiar tiki torches or this guy that I believe is wearing a Make Society Great Again cap, but it definitely adds a loaded undertone to the whole fighting back against an invasive race that's impregnating our women thing. I don't know, just doesn't taste great. You know what does taste great though? This tree's cock apparently. What the fuck is going on? Anyway, they have a super high energy fight sequence, Lord Pork, that's his name by the way, saves the day, and Zdena gives birth to a tree person. The end. The movie is bad, but apparently that's what they wanted to do, so good job? 2 out of 10. It got a couple of good chuckles out of me though.
That was nice.
And I'm aware that I'm working against a language and cultural barrier, but the nicest thing I have to say about this movie is that it looks like they had a lot of fun making it. Yay? It's made with a lot of love for the source material and other Czech memes, such as this guy, whoever he is, but Zdena plays a relatively minor part in the movie, so I'll give it a 6 out of 10 for incorporation. D tier. Now, in my last video, I got a lot of preemptive pushback for covering a Russian-made movie, so I acknowledged that controversy in the video and then got a lot of pushback from people who were annoyed I'd even brought up politics at all, and of course, Russian. So I want to say that going forward, I'm going to stay well away from geopolitics altogether. This is now a safe space. There will be no politics here.
Kids in the basement, kids in the basement.
Fuck. Well, never mind. Shortly before October 24th, 2011, Christopher Poole, 4chan's founder, would meet with convicted paedophile Jeffrey Epstein to talk about... who knows? But seemingly the very same day, he would launch the incredibly influential and disruptive Politically Incorrect board, aka POL. The same poll that would go on to be credited with the rise of the alt-right, QAnon, and a lot of the general socio-political mess we find ourselves in today. Coincidence? No. Because it's a conspiracy, baby! If you've seen an edgy, racist, or generally right-leaning meme in the past decade, there's a not insignificant chance that it originated on POL, and that remains true for this segment's meme, Pizzagate, a conspiracy that was largely regarded as a meme until it wasn't. And then it was again. And now it isn't again? It's a confusing time. The basic gist is this. In 2016, American presidential candidate Hillary Clinton's campaign chair, John Podesta's emails got leaked, and it was decided on POL that within those emails, any mention of cheese was actually a code word for sex with children, and any mention of pasta was actually a code word for sex with children, and any mention of pizza was actually a code word for sex with children, and unfortunately for John Podesta, he really liked ordering lunch. Naturally, Comet Ping Pong Pizzeria in Washington, D.C. was designated the operational epicenter for this posse of pizza pedos, with an alleged basement full of child sex slaves, despite never being directly mentioned in Podesta's emails and not having a basement. But, you know, details schmeetails. And on December 4th, 2016, an armed Edgar Madison Welch would drive 350 miles to liberate the child sex slaves that he believed to be held captive there. But unfortunately, or I guess fortunately, there were no sex slaves to be found, and he was promptly arrested, bringing this chapter of Pizzagate to a close. Now, would you consider Pizzagate a meme? Well, I would argue so, obviously. That's why I'm including it in this video, because while there were people taking it deeply seriously, such as Edgar, many more, I would argue a majority, were engaging with it ironically as a meme. If you'd heard of it before this video, was it as a sincere conspiracy theory, or was it as a bit of a joke? That said, if you want to get really conspiratorial, it could be argued that Pizzagate was created as a meme specifically to muddy the waters around the very real child sex trafficking rings. But hey, that's just I'm not doing that. That's not appropriate. We are talking about child abuse. This video was supposed to be fun. All of this is to say that in 2020, the whole thing would prompt a movie, of course titled Duncan. But nobody wanted to see a movie called Duncan, so the director promptly renamed it to The Pizzagate Massacre. The Pizzagate Massacre starts by introducing us to an InfoWars-style host, warning that children are being sex trafficked out of Toots Pizza by lizard people, and someone needs to do something about it, all while new hire intern Karen watches on, soaking it all up as a true believer. Karen seeks out Duncan, a conspiracy-brained, gun-loving, libertarian militia member who she believes will help her in investigating the pizzeria.
How are they gonna sodomize kids if they're lizards?
Duncan figures it's likely not real, but reluctantly joins Karen and hits the road, at which point we learn that he just might be a white supremacist.
What's the,
Problem?
Arriving at Toots Pizza, things immediately go sideways as another member of Duncan's militia shows up, instigates a shootout, and kidnaps Karen. Having just murdered a bunch of innocent people, an injured Duncan seeks out help, at which point we learn that he also used to be a Nazi. You know how it is. While driving back to rescue Karen, Duncan records a video explaining his motivations in a nod to the very real Pizzagate shooter. Then he kills the militia and rescues Karen before confronting the Alex Jones stand-in from the start. Here we learn that Duncan has been a repeat victim of radicalization, falling for easy lies told by bad actors looking to give him the answers to why the world is so rightly fucked up. And he just wants to hold them accountable. But before he can do any of that, they shoot him in the head, and Karen promptly joins the grift machine herself. Hooray! We love a happy ending. You know what? I enjoyed the Pizzagate Massacre a lot more than I thought I would.
I was threatened by this man over here with his goddamn sign, all right? And that's cardboard. That's not paper. Okay?
It had more to say than I expected, especially given that it had been marketed like another one of those intentionally bad B-movies that we've seen far too many of in this series. So as a movie, it gets a 7 out of 10 from me. As for incorporation though, it's getting a 4 out of 10 because while it did talk about a lot of the institutions and systems that went into making something like Pizzagate happen, it didn't really explore Pizzagate itself all that much. C tier. Hey, I wonder what happened to the actual Pizzagate guy. Ah, fuck.
I just wanna catch my fish, drive my truck.
In 2012, Polish blogger Malcolm XD posted a story about his father who hates the world almost as much as he loves to fish. He spoke of fishing rods lying around the house, impaling his foot on hooks, and joining fishing forums anonymously just to troll his dad. This story, and specifically its opening line of "My old man is a fishing fanatic," would become arguably the most popular copypasta in Poland, being quoted, referenced, or posted in full all over the internet, or as they call it over there, Miesias pornografia. After frantically leaving comments on every single upload of the fishing fanatic copypasta they could find, filmmaker Mikhail Tilka finally managed to get in touch with Malcolm XD and get their permission to adapt it into a short film. And so, with the help of a fundraising campaign, they made Fanatic. The film begins with our protagonist Jakub in group therapy recounting the events that led to his involuntary commitment, namely his father's unhealthy obsession with fishing. Jakub's life is miserable. His home is filled with fishing paraphernalia. His family do nothing but eat fish every day, and his father flips out over the smallest of things, all of them being fish-related. Deeply resentful, Jakub gets a kick out of introducing his father to fishing forums so he can join anonymously and then troll the shit out of him to work him up even further. At one point, his dad and his fishing buddies club together to buy their own fishing boat, but he immediately becomes so paranoid that he steals the boat back and attempts to drag it into their house. The resulting fallout from this is what leads Jakub to posting the original story online, and this is where we diverge from the source material, as Jakub proceeds to neck a shitload of drugs, hallucinate fish people, and get admitted into a psychiatric hospital. The film ends with Jakob's dad visiting him in hospital and excitedly telling his son all about this funny post he found online about this fishing-obsessed father and the child who hates him, at which point he realizes, ah shit, is this fucking play about us? And there's a hint that just maybe he'll try and change his ways. While short and a little depressing, Fanatic is a well-made, solid movie, so it gets a 7 out of 10 from me. As for incorporation, it very faithfully works in the source material and even builds upon it, so it does pretty much the best you could hope for. I'll give it an 8 out of 10. Ultimately, A tier for Fanatic. Now, as a general rule, I'm not covering sequels, but Fanatic does actually have a feature-length follow-up called Wuljek Foljash, which is about your conspiracy theory-brained, Facebook-pilled, tinfoil hat-wearing uncle. Now, is that a meme? Maybe. Look, I don't think I'm ever going to be free of this series, so I'll probably get to it at some point. Now, say you're having a particularly spirited chat with one of your boys. What are the odds that at some point during that conversation, one of you says the fateful words, "Dude, this could totally be a podcast"? Well, unfortunately for men throughout most of history, podcasts didn't exist, which is why in 1981, Wallace Shawn and Andre Gregory were forced to adapt their boring conversation into a movie. You might know My Dinner with Andre as a dialogue-driven comedy drama bottle movie about two estranged friends sharing a philosophical conversation over dinner, or like me, you might know it as that one episode of Community you didn't really get. Like, I get that it's a parody, but it's still a little dense, right? Like, sorry, Dan Harmon, but do you really expect me to see one of the driest movies of all time just to appreciate the bit? I get that Abed is a movie guy, but give me a break here, dude. Anyway, 15 years later, in 1996, we got The Simpsons episode 22 Short Films About Springfield, featuring 19 short films about Springfield, namely the characters within the show The Simpsons, including one short about Principal Skinner inviting Super Nintendo Chalmers round for dinner. Riffing on the classic sitcom trope of the boss coming over for dinner only for everything to go awry, Principal Skinner's planned meal gets burned, forcing him to serve takeaway burgers, which he calls steamed hams.
Steamed hams.
Yes. Now, Simpsons memes have existed for as long as the internet has had the capacity to host them, but parodies specifically of the steamed hams sequence began really trickling in at the start of 2010, with them really picking up steam during the Simpsons shitposting boom of 2016. What started off as essentially a variant of YouTube poops evolved into full-blown music videos, video game parodies, and explorations of different art styles, mediums, and even movie genres.
Mash it?
No. A degree of one-upmanship combined with the opportunity to show off one's skills led to each edit of steamed hams becoming more and more elaborate, experimental, and even surreal. While shitposts are typically defined as being low-effort content, these shitposts were anything but.
Superintendent Chalmers, welcome. I hope you're prepared for an unforgettable luncheon.
Enter Tyrone Dees, a Canadian filmmaker who likes making incredibly high-end and elaborate steamed hams parodies, such as Steamed Hams, but it's a German expressionist film, Steamed Hams, but it's a Netflix true crime intro, or Steamed Hams, but it's Dr. Zeus. And yes, that is how you pronounce it. And in September of 2025, he would release Steamed Hams, but it's a critically acclaimed feature film, aka My Dinner with Skinner, a shitpost 44 years in the making. The film is a faithful parody of both Steamed Hams and My Dinner with Andre. Luckily, it's not so faithful as to clock in at 2 entire hours long, being a far more reasonable 43 minutes. I mean, I do have other things to do, you know, like watching an increasingly growing list of meme movies. Much like his counterpart of Wallace in My Dinner with Andre, the film is told from the perspective of Superintendent Chalmers. He arrives despite his host's directions, Skinner provides a suspiciously different meal than the one promised, and he leaves after a long, winding conversation. The attention to detail is incredible. Background references, props, costumes, all of it a love letter to The Simpsons, but instead of conversations about life regrets and spirituality, it's all about events from The Simpsons, all of which having happened before 22 Shorts about Springfield, a very nice detail told from Skinner's perspective.
When an unsettling thought crept through my mind, had I become out of touch?
No. It's the children who are wrong.
It's essentially a long string of Simpsons references with the occasional pause to directly quote Steamed Hams.
Superintendent, I was just stretching my calves on the windowsill.
Honestly, watching this whole thing is kind of like being trapped in a room with people who only know how to communicate through pop culture references. And on an unrelated note, I had a great time at MCM Comic-Con this month. I hope I saw you there. For as much love and attention that has been put into this movie, though, it does drag. And I guess this is kind of unavoidable when your main source of inspiration is a movie about two guys waxing lyrical over dinner.
Inconceivable.
But also, when you're extending something 2.5 minutes long into something 17 times longer, I suppose it's a little inevitable that it's going to feel kinda bloated. However, these long conversations do at least provide some context as to why Skinner's dinner got burned. He was too busy fucking talking.
Excuse me, I should go check on our lunch.
There isn't much more to say about my dinner with Skinner. The attention to detail is spectacular and the recreation is spot on. That said, I think the appeal of this movie is more so in the fact that someone made it than in actually watching it. I definitely appreciated it more than I enjoyed it. Still, 6 out of 10 movie, 8 out of 10 incorporation, B tier. Late one evening on January 8th, 2004, a user on Japan's 2chan message board wrote that something strange was happening on her train ride home from work. The train, which usually stopped every few minutes, hadn't stopped in over 20 now, and everyone else on board had mysteriously fallen asleep. Finally, the train pulled into Kisaragi Station, a station which was unfamiliar to Hasumi and all the other users on 2chan, who were quick to point out that no such station seems to even exist. Regardless, Hasumi disembarked, stepping into the frigid night. There she found the station empty. No staff, no taxis, nothing but the distant sound of a beating drum. Scared and confused, Hasumi began to walk back along the tracks, hoping to find her way home. By 2 a.m., Hasumi would report that an old one-legged man had startled her, warning her not to walk along the tracks, right before disappearing in front of her eyes. Panicked, she fled further along the tracks and into a deep, dark tunnel, swallowing whatever signal she had left. Finally, emerging out the other side, Hasumi would find a kind stranger who offered to drive her to a nearby station. She apologized for worrying everyone and finally logged off for the night. However, only an hour later, she'd returned to tell that instead of driving her to a station, her good Samaritan had instead silently driven her deep into the mountains. As 4 a.m. drew close, Hasumi warned that the driver had now begun cryptically muttering to himself, that she was planning on fleeing as soon as she could, and that her phone was very nearly dead. And that morning, as the sun finally rose on Japan, the thread fell silent, and Hasumi was never heard from again. Boo! I shaved. Also, I have my morning voice right now because it's 6 a.m. It is so hot in the UK. I am filming this before the sun comes out. It's too warm. Please send help. Boy, if I had a nickel for every time there was a 2chan thread from 2004 about something unbelievable happening to a Japanese person on their train ride home from work, I'd have 2 nickels. Which would be useless to me because I have to go to America to spend those. And I'm not going there. That's way too close to Canada. The story of Kisaragi Station would spread like wildfire through the internet, and to this day, people still tell tales of visiting the station themselves and successfully escaping as if it's a video game and they've figured out how to get the good ending. In 2020, Zeus, probably not how you say it, made a song about the 2chan thread. And because of course it was, that song was eventually adapted into a manga. A manga adapted from a song, adapted from a 2chan thread. Naturally, Kisaragi Station even broke containment into the real world, with January 8th this year being Kisaragi Station Day. Hell, the train line even sells merchandise of it. A fun little memento of that one time a definitely real woman definitely really went missing. So with all this in mind, it should come as no surprise to you that in 2022, Kisaragi Station would finally be adapted into a feature-length movie. The film begins by telling the audience about the original thread, framing it as a sort of based on a true story kind of thing, where it, a true story. And then we meet Haruna, a college student on her way to interview Sumiko, our stand-in for Hasumi, all about her disappearance on January 8th, 2004. Sumiko then recounts the events of that fateful night, getting on the train, riding through a strange tunnel, arriving at Kisaragi Station, and for the next 30 minutes or so we get a near one-for-one recreation of the thread, just for some reason in a nauseating first-person perspective. One deviation from the source material, though, is that the other sleeping passengers get off with Sumiko. Not in a sexy way, but to be honest, they're just here to up the body count. Again, not in a sexy way. As they walk back along the tracks, they just kind of get picked off one by one. One has their head explode, one gets set on fire, and one gets their face ripped apart by tentacles. Again, not in a sexy way. I know what you're like, Japan. On the other side of a tunnel, they meet a kind stranger who offers the last two survivors, Sumiko and schoolgirl Asuka, a ride. But, much like the source material, things get a little bit wacky on the road. Picking up where the original thread left off, they flee into the woods, famously the safest thing to do in any horror movie, and there they find a magic door. Yeah. All the dead passengers show back up as zombies for one final encounter, and Sumiko is left with a terrible choice between saving Asuka, sending her through the portal and sacrificing herself in the process, or leaving Asuka to die and saving herself. Sumiko bravely chooses the former, sends Asuka through the portal, but oops, it's a portal that makes you explode, and Asuka explodes, and Sumiko wakes up, returned to the real world as the only survivor. And that's the story. Wow. What a journey. What do you mean we're only halfway through the movie? The other half of this movie is that student Haruna's turn. She retraces Sumiko's exact steps and finds herself at Kisaragi Station with the same group of survivors from before. Whoa! It's like a time loop pocket dimension kind of thing. How fun. However, using Sumiko's prior knowledge, she expertly navigates the situation and manages to get everyone through safely. Well, that is until they all die in other ways, of course. Finally, Haruna winds up being faced with the exact same dilemma as Sumiko. Send Asuka through the portal, knowing that she will die, or go through yourself, knowing you'll die, and save Asuka. And Haruna sends Asuka through the portal, again despite knowing it's going to blow her up. But then it doesn't, and Asuka escapes just in time for Sumiko to meet her in the real world, leaving Haruna forever trapped in the spooky dimension. Are you following along? It's really straightforward stuff. You see, Sumiko knew that Haruna was going to retrace her steps and get back to Kisaragi Station, where she would find waiting for her the time loop situation. So she lied about how to escape Kisaragi Station, knowing that when Haruna was faced with the exact same dilemma, she would selfishly choose to send Asuka first, knowing that that would mean that Asuka actually got to escape and that she could find her in the exact same spot and time as when she escaped, leaving Haruna trapped there instead. How did she know any of that? Fuck off! That's how. God, don't ask stupid questions. As you can tell, I found this movie to be a bit of a headache, both narratively and aesthetically, so it gets a 4 out of 10 for me. As for the incorporation element, though, they did a pretty damn good job of working in everything from the original story and even exploring the mimetic element of it being shared and repeated by other people, so that gets a 7 out of 10. C tier. But you might be wondering, how exactly does one get to Kisaragi Station? Well, you see, as the movie explains, it's very similar to the elevator game in that you... What's the elevator game, you ask? Why'd you have to ask me that? You didn't even suggest this one. We just found it by accident while researching the last movie. I am never getting out of here. Let's move on. On February 13th, 2013, Canadian tourist Elisa Lam would step onto a lift at the Cecil Hotel in LA. Acting strangely, she would press a series of buttons before exiting the lift altogether, seemingly never changing floors, and then she proceeded to disappear from the world entirely. At least, that was until 6 days later, when her body was found floating in a water tank atop the hotel. The mystery surrounding Elisa's erratic behavior and eventual death would spawn a lot of online theories, including one that she was playing the elevator game. Much like the Charlie Charlie Challenge, the elevator game was a spooky, scary trend that spread online, gaining significant popularity in South Korea in 2010, although the earliest I could trace it back to was this Japanese 2chan thread from 2008 titled How to Get to Another World, although that also seems to be a repost, so who can really say from where it originates? The rules to the game, however, are as follows. Get on a lift, and then starting from the first floor, take yourself to floor 4, 2, 6, 2, 10, and then 5. And on the 5th floor, a spooky ghost girl will join you on the lift, but do not look at her and do not talk to her. And if you do all of this right, you will then press the 1st floor, but will be instead taken to the 10th floor, where you will enter another world, ghost dimension kind of thing. That, or you unlock infinite lives in Sonic 2. Or maybe you just clear your wanted level? It's one of them. But it wasn't until Elisa Lam's death that the trend finally got attention here in the West, with people on Reddit claiming that they had also done it, and YouTubers getting their stink all over it, leading us to the 2023 movie, The Elevator Game. Side note, I am aware that there is apparently a 2019 version of The Elevator Game, also called When We Dance, the Music Dies, but I legitimately can't find it anywhere, and I don't want to find it anywhere. Please don't find it anywhere. There's only so many movies I can fit in the F tier. We kick things off with Becky demonstrating the elevator game, taking herself to the various floors, but when she gets to floor 5, she doesn't keep her eyes closed and looks at the ghost girl, who immediately attacks her. Come on, Becky, you know the rules, and so do I. We then meet Ryan, the newest member of this Watcher-esque team of YouTubers who need to make a video right the fuck now to meet a sponsor's deadline. Rushing to meet a sponsor's deadline? What's that like? I'm always on time for Surfshark. I don't even know if they're going to sponsor this video. I've missed so many deadlines. But Ryan suggests the elevator game.
What about the elevator game?
And given that that's the title of this movie, that's what they have to do now.
Still don't know how you're going to make all that interesting. Just saying.
They go to an office block, which is obviously a hotel, but they're going to spend the entire movie trying to convince you that this obvious hotel is an office block, when it is in fact obviously a hotel. They do the ritual, they get a little spooked out before being interrupted by an office worker who works at an obvious hotel, before leaving the ritual incomplete. As a result, the YouTubers naturally start getting stalked and killed by an angry ghost. Meanwhile, Ryan repeats the challenge, hoping to save his sister Becky from the other world. That's the girl from the start of the movie, don't you recall? Anyway, he finds himself in a mirror world full of pink lightning and a sky that is sponsored by Xbox. Also, while he's there, he meets this lovely lady, who in real life is a contortionist, if you can't tell. Also, just as a side note, what do you mean that this woman has a one-woman show where she spins pizzas on her feet? Incredible.
This better not awaken anything in me.
Anyway, more kids die, and we learn that the ghost is actually a woman who got trapped and died under that very lift and is now a vengeful spirit, Sadako style. What are the odds?
We need to go to the police.
You can't call the cops on a ghost, Chloe.
They venture into the lift one more time to finish the game and break the curse, which doesn't work out at all. And now Ryan is stuck in the spirit world forever, and the cycle begins anew with a different influencer. Womp womp. For me, this movie missed pretty much every opportunity it had to be fresh, fun, or even scary, so 3 out of 10. As for incorporation though, it did a pretty great job of showing off the trend in all of its forms, so 8 out of 10. C tier. Next. Oh no! I'm going to hell! Which is just watching more meme movies.
I'm going in my goon cave. Yeah!
In 2001, cave diver Ted Hegeman, aka Ted the Caver, would post regular blog updates about he and his best friend nicknamed B had set out to make this small opening he'd found in the cave wide enough to fit through to explore this virgin passage. Virgin passage? More like I got nothing. As they embarked upon the tedious task of steadily boring the hole wider and wider, strange things naturally began to happen. Scraping sounds, gusts of wind, and other worldly screams. But instead of taking these obvious bad omens as a sign that they should stop, they just kept on drilling. What are these guys? Characters in a mediocre horror movie? That's foreshadowing, baby! Eventually, they enlisted the help of a skinnier friend named Joe, who squeezed through the hole, but promptly clawed his way back out looking terrified, before running away with no explanation. Did this stop Ted from going back into the hole? Did it fuck? He went in again, strange things happened again, and he ran away again. But he vowed to return one last time, promising to come back with answers. And, of course, was never heard from again. The story of Ted the Caver is widely agreed upon to be the very first creepypasta, so we have it to thank for the general concept of making up spooky shit on the internet. In reality, all Ted found in that cave was more cave, but he decided
it'd be kind of fun to embellish it a little bit.
And essentially fake his own death in the process. In for a penny, in for a pound, I guess. And much like other internet spooky stories such as Slender Man, Kisaragi Station, and Fred, in 2013, Ted's story would be adapted into a feature-length film titled Living Dark, the story of Ted the Caver. The film opens up with some text telling us that this is based on an internet story, and whoa! Just to set the tone, this is the most exciting part of the film. We meet our titular Ted alongside Brad as they stand over their dad's grave in the first of many deviations from the source material, this one being that they are now brothers instead of just friends before they fall into their dead dad's literal man cave. The next deviation from the source material is that Ted the Caver is not a caver. Not yet, at least. They find that small hole and immediately, inexplicably begin banging away at it, as if they're trying to speedrun a cave-in. No helmets, no equipment, no idea what they're doing, just raw dogging that hole.
What do we know anyway? Right? We don't know anything.
This film is to cave diving what 50 Shades of Grey was to BDSM.
Either I make it all the way or I get stuck trying.
Their obsession pays off though, as they make the hole just wide enough for Ted and his famous Ted hat to crawl through. And what does he find waiting for him on the other side? More cave. Wow. Just like the source material. They bring along their friend Joe, who is good at caving, but bad at having a British accent.
If you'll excuse me, I have a date with a lovely hole.
He encounters something in the hole, promptly runs away, and then Kurt Cobains himself.
Hey dude, this dude is dead.
Then Ted has his own spooky cave encounter, runs away, and writes the very blog post that this movie is based on before promising to seal up the hole and never go in it again.
Nothing on earth to get me to go back in that cave.
Now, one of the most appealing and unnerving aspects of the source material is that we never really find out what happens. It denies us any closure. What was in that cave? What became of Ted? It ends not with a bang, but with a whisper. So this adaptation says, fuck that woke shit, let's end with a bang! Their special needs uncle, by the way, they have a special needs uncle, yearns for the mind, so he dives into the caves himself. The Spelunkier brothers now know they have to venture in one more time to rescue him, where they are attacked by shadow monsters. But don't worry, they'll be fine as long as their torches don't run out of batteries, because the shadow monsters hate the light.
The light.
Their uncle gets yoinked, and so Ted sends Brad away so he can heroically dive into the deepest, darkest part of the cave, light a stick of dynamite, and blow himself and the shadow monsters up. Like I said, it really does end with a bang. Brad leaves the cave alone, and in the final minutes of the movie finds the birthday present left behind by his uncle, featuring the drawing of him and Ted, once ripped up, now taped back together in a lovely, emotional close. What the fuck is this drawing? Where did it come from? It's never established anywhere else in the film. No one knows what it means. It's good stuff. The film is a mess, and not even the fun kind. 3 out of 10. The incorporation is mid at best, working in a lot of the key details, but failing to grasp the core appeal of the source material. 5 out of 10. D tier. A mediocre film with no lasting cultural impact or legacy. Or is it? I'd like to throw a little theory into the mix here. Ted the Caver was actually filmed in 2008 and was shown exclusively at film festivals for 5 years before finally being sold to a distributor in 2013. The very same year that the short film Lights Out would be released onto YouTube by filmmaker David Sandberg. And I'm just saying... In the back room. Backrooms. No, I was forgetting something. Now, as this is a movie that is still in cinemas, at least at the time I'm releasing this video, I'm first going to give you a spoiler-free synopsis, and then I will give you a chance to skip ahead to avoid these spoilerific bits. I'm just really nice like that. The movie starts, essentially, with an installment of Kane's established series, with a found-footage first-person perspective sequence of a scientist lost in the unnervingly familiar backrooms that we all know and fear. Is there something in there with him? Who can possibly say? This is the spoiler-free part of the synopsis. Shelving the found footage shtick for a bit, we meet Clark, a divorced furniture store owner who is about to, you guessed it, no-clip into the fluorescent yellow labyrinth that is the Backrooms. And can I just say, I love how faithfully this sticks to the source material, down to the fact that it is the Backrooms of a furniture store from the 90s. Just, mwah. While investigating the source of his astronomically high electricity bill, Clark finds himself in the Backrooms, and we learn that it is the 29th of June, 1990, which is the same day I was busy taking this photograph. And given that the movie seemingly started a couple days before this event, I think it's not unfeasible to say that this movie starts on the day I was born. And that's not related to anything, I just think it's kind of neat. Clark finds a cardboard cutout of a caveman, first seen in this 2024 installment of The Backrooms from Kane. It's also playing the 55 greetings from Earth from the Voyager spacecraft. Did the scientists put it there, or was it the Backrooms themselves? Who can say? Probably the scientists, though. Clark, who is a big fucking loser who can't get over his ex-wife, tells his therapist Mary all about the Backrooms, and naturally, she doesn't believe him, so he vows to return with proof and enlists the help of his employees, Bobby and Kat, to venture into the Backrooms with him and their camera. Armed with roughly 5150 reasons to be concerned about Clark's mental state, Mary heads to his store and soon finds herself in the Backrooms as well, and things get to a state that I can only really describe as fucko bonko, which is a cinema term. And that's the end of the spoiler-free part of this synopsis, so if you're planning on seeing this movie, which I would recommend, you should probably skip ahead to the timecode on the screen now. You done it? Oh, thank God they're gone. I fucking hate that guy. While spelunking in the Backrooms, cameraman Bobby is immediately yoinked and killed by an unseen creature, presumably because they were camera shy. Clark and Kat get separated, and while running around trying to find their way through the Backrooms, he finds other areas, or levels, if you will, such as a swimming pool area and a Christmas zone before the previously mentioned creature closes in on him. It's a few days later when Mary finds herself in the Backrooms, and after stumbling upon Clark's "the cake is a lie"-esque scrawlings on the wall, a less than sane Clark kidnaps her and introduces her to his new family, which includes edible NPCs, Kat's severed head, and a giant pirate. Look, in Kane's universe, the Backrooms seem to be a naturally occurring supernatural space that feeds off of and builds itself based on people's memories and traumas, with the rooms, furnishings, and even still-life creatures inside being echoes or poorly remembered copies of real-world objects and people. It's all very Silent Hill, with Clark's instability and constant rumination seemingly playing a not insignificant role in the twisted, nonsensical formation of the Backrooms, including the genuinely harrowing, bastardized version of himself in the form of a giant pirate mascot.
Well, ahoy there, mateys!
In short, he's fucking nuts, and I do kind of wish we'd seen a little bit more of his descent into madness, but hey-ho. Anyway, Pirate Clark eats regular Clark, Mary narrowly escapes, but is then captured by those familiar hazmat suit wearing Backrooms exploring scientists that we know from the series. What becomes of Mary? We don't get to find out, but the movie ends with a still life version of her trapped as an echo forever in the Backrooms. Not as a pirate though. I liked it. 7 out of 10 movie, effectively eerie and visually unique. As for incorporation, I don't think there's anyone more qualified than Kane to bring the Backrooms to life, incorporating elements from his own story and treating the Backrooms as their own separate character. 9 out of 10. A tier. Now, I've said this before, and I've thoroughly eaten those words every single time, but I truly believe this time that I'm very nearly done with this series. I currently have just 10 more movies that meet my criteria to watch, review, and reveal to you. So I'm going to ask you for very hopefully the last time to make me aware of any other movies you know that exist as the direct result of an internet meme. Let's finish this. Thank you so much for watching. Obviously, I am joking about hating doing this series. I actually really do enjoy discovering, researching, and sharing these movies with you. Watching the movies themselves, though, yeah, that can be tough. Either way, I'm very proud of what we have achieved. Doesn't seem like the right word. Done? Survived? Endured. Yeah, I'm proud of what we have endured. Thank you again for watching. I'll see you next time. TomSka out. Where's the door? Where's the door? Where's the door?
Hey you, thank you for the money. 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 Hey you, thank you for the money.
Another big thank you to our patrons and also everyone else for waiting so long while we worked on this video. I'm gonna do it again now. Yay!